Hello, my name is Jaclyn Moriarty and I would like to tell you about my book, The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Mettlestone, with a beautiful cover illustration by Carl James Malford. This is the story of Bronte, who is 10 years old when she discovers that her parents have been killed by pirates. This doesn't bother her particularly because she was raised by her Aunt Isabel and the butler after her parents abandoned her in the lobby of Aunt Isabel's building when she was a baby so that they could go and have adventures with pirates.
Yarr!
But her parents have left behind a will that requires Bronte to go on an adventure delivering small gifts to her 10 other aunts. Her aunts live throughout the kingdoms and empires, and the will requires that she go completely alone and that she follow its instructions absolutely. And there are some very precise instructions in the will telling her not just what time train she has to get, but where she should try the local apple pie. This is the English cover of the book, but I would also like to show you the Australian cover to compare. This is the Australian cover, which is by Kelly Canby, so it's very different. Hold them both up at the same time. Completely different. And I'd also like to show you a postcard that I got just the other day from a reader of the book in Australia who drew this picture. And it's an actual homemade postcard. Which came in the mail to me. It's a good picture, isn't it? And I'll show you the stamps to you so you can see it is. That's a koala and I keep going off the camera. You make it work. You have to go backwards. A koala and a possum stamp on the envelopes of the postcard. And just in case you're interested, the next book after Bronte Mettlestone, which is set in the same world, but before Bronte was even born, is called The Slightly Alarming Tale of the Whispering Wars. I think any moment there's going to be a cover in the UK for that. But the Australian cover at the moment looks like this, and it's about children at the orphanage of a small town engaged in a huge battle with children at the exclusive boarding school of the same town at the same time as the Whispering Wars are taking off throughout the kingdoms and empires. Bronte Mettlestone, I wrote the first chapter of that book without knowing what it was going to be about. I just wrote the line, I was 10 years old when my parents were killed by pirates, and then I didn't know what was going to happen after that. So I decided that I would pretend to be going on a journey myself the same way that Bronte was going on a journey visiting her 10 aunts. And I decided I'd do that by going to a different cafe in my town, in my neighborhood, for every single chapter. So I went to one cafe and wrote a chapter, and then the next day I went to a different cafe in a different area and wrote another chapter. But one day I went to a tiny little chocolate shop, which is about a 15-minute walk from my house, where they had a big table in the middle of a room, and all the shelves were not filled with books like my shelves, they were filled with chocolates, and there was a chandelier made out of teacups hanging from the ceiling, and you could sit at the table, have a hot chocolate, and write. And I noticed that my journey to different cafes kept taking me back to the chocolate shop. And I was writing, I didn't even have a name for the book then. I just kept calling it my pirate book because it started with Bronte saying her parents were killed by pirates. So I just kept saying to everyone, I'm writing my pirate book in a different cafe every day. But then every now and then they'd have to admit that actually I was writing a lot of chapters in the chocolate shop. And I wrote the final chapter of the book in the chocolate shop, sitting at the big table with my hot chocolate. And I looked up when I'd finished and said to the owner of the chocolate shop, I finished my pirate book. And the owner of the chocolate shop reached onto the table in front of me and picked up a little box filled with gold-covered chocolate coins and gave them to me and said, "This can be your prize for finishing your pirate book." And I realized that right in front of me, the whole time I'd been writing, there was a kind of pirate's treasure chest filled with gold chocolate coins. I hadn't even noticed it because there were so many chocolates around. So it was exactly the right place to finish my pirate book, which then became called The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Mettlestone. Thank you. I can't get it in the film.